This video is made for adult collectors because I'm running on like 5 hours of sleep because the storm last night was so loud. Hopefully you can't hear the pitter patter of the rain on the roof, but it is absolutely storming outside, so hopefully the power doesn't go out. However, when Blokees sent these over, they also sent me this. Now I've never contributed to BFC, which is their like custom thing, but they sent me this and oh my good lord, the eBay going price is, oh Jesus. I'm not gonna lie, this was a hard title to think of, and even still, I'm kind of like on it. I like both of these a lot, but I don't know, for some reason, finding a title was just very hard. But yeah, these two, I was just gonna make a short for Sentinel and leave it at that, but like, I really like this thing a lot, and I want to talk about it more. Also, Blitzwing is here. Both of these kits are super nifty. For the size, they're extremely accurate and complex with lots of articulation and even lights. They were sent over by Blokees. They have a ton of cool Transformers kits and loads of others you can check out on their site. I'll link them below. This is their classic / champion sized kits and are easily my favorite they have to make. However, that will probably change when Action Edition Prime comes out. I can't wait for that thing. But yeah, this sort of 6-inch, it's a little bit shorter than 6-inch scale figures are what I like out of them, and these two have to be the best Transformers ones they've put out. Sentinel is the standout for me, obviously. The one thing that bugged me when they showed this off was that the red was very, very red. But here though, in person, it's a lot less intense, and he looks so good. I love Sentinel Prime's Bayverse design, so this scratches that itch because he doesn't really get a lot of love toy-wise. Pretty solid build too. This thing was a fun kit to make and it's very satisfying to finish. They say you don't need tools to put this together, but I would have like a knife or something aside just because there are some numb marks on places like the arms and the blades and the shoulders. I like all the angles and how they nailed the shapes he has. He fills out quite well. He just has this aura about him standing there in a neutral pose, but that doesn't mean he doesn't look good in an actual pose. He comes with his shield, his sword, extra sword handles, and the Ironhide Beater and Defeater 3000. Along with his optional hands, he can look fantastic, though I'm really bummed he doesn't have double jointed knees. That's like my only articulation woe. We interrupt this Blokees video with some news. Boxes arrived. Yeah. Oh, whoa, this is enormous. Oh my great googly moogly. Oh, all right then. Oh, it's heavy. And then we have a little box. Oh, this is bigger than I thought. It's more Blokees product. I paid for this. Apparently I can just ask for free things from them, but I feel really icky asking for free things, so I just bought this. Yay. Then we get into Blitzwing, who surprised me because I was expecting to just be on this thing, but I like it a lot. Blitzwing design is one of my favorites from the Bumblebee movie, second only to Shatter, and this kit nails that design. There is a lot of color breakup that's done by parts here. The color separation is very nice. It was nice on Sentinel, but here it's just elevated somehow. I think it's how they do the layering of the pieces and the shade of color they chose, like the candy apple red shoulders and the off-white. I love the way they did the wings. They can be so expressive on this guy. That topped with the posable leg thingies. What are these? I have no idea what these are. He also comes with the war crime accessories. Sentinel comes with his shoot a man in the back gun, and Blitzwing comes with his rip the throat out of his victims thingy. He also comes with his arm gun and the missile launcher that inevitably kills him. Both are pretty solid, but each one has one thing that's a bit build quality wise. Sentinel's hip skirts will occasionally just pop off when like moving the legs around, and then Blitzwing's waist will just fall in half if you push the legs past where they're supposed to go. They both don't happen very often, but they happen enough that it is worth making note of. Oh, and they come with bases. I forgot to mention that. So each one has their own like weird limitation to their posing, Blitzwing's waist and his knees. But before I get into that, I want to quickly show off that they've come a long way since like the first ever guys of this size class, with the stylization and them being smaller. And they've slowly gotten better and better to the point where they're just making screen accurate designs. I love that. Even though this is still neat. So I guess we'll start with Sentinel Prime. So Sentinel's head is on a ball joint, but he can look up that far. He can't look down at all because the beard hits the chin, and then he can only look left and right that far because the beard hits the chin. But you know, you flick the head and then the eyes light up, and he's got pretty good tilt. It's just the beard gets in the way of some things. The shoulders, they can do a full 360, but they stop here. That's really out of focus. They stop here because the shoulder pad hits this wheel. So you kind of have to shimmy the arm out a little bit to get it to go up, but you know, it still stays in pretty okay. Like it's not, it takes a little bit to flick it out of there. The shoulders can go out that far. The shoulder pad moves out of the way. You do have a bicep rotation, a single jointed elbow that bends 90 degrees, and then both the fists and the open hands are on ball joints, so you get all that. These little wing bits back here are on ball joints, so they can pretty much just swivel and then move up and down a little bit, but they don't get in the way at all. He does have a waist joint, which is just a peg, so you know, it does rotate. However, unlike Optimus here, where you can just pull it apart, Sentinel's is slightly different design because it actually goes in and then snaps into place. So this is not actually going to come off when you're rotating the waist. I like that. The hip skirts are on ball joints so they can move out of the way. The hips are on drop down hips. So they can go forward that far normally, but then with the drop down, they can go forward that far, and then you drop it down again, then go back that far. You can get a full splits out of that. You do get a thigh rotation, but because of the sculpt, it bumps in here and stops at that angle. So, but it goes out the other way, all the way, which is great. You do have that 90 degrees of bend at the knee I talked about earlier. And then the ankles, they can go down, they can go up, you can rotate them, and he's got a pretty good ankle tilt. So Sentinel Prime is very posable. I just wish his knees had a bit more range. It'd be nice if he had an ab crunch, but like these are small. They're like the size of a deluxe, so I kind of get it. Blitzwing, on the other hand, has more articulation than Sentinel. However, like I said, that waist is a little limited, but that's more so to do with Blitzwing's design. We'll get to that in a second. The head also on a ball joint. He's got a little bit less tilt than Sentinel, and he can look down, but he can't really look up that far. I wish he could look up further so that he was like flying. You could have him look straight up. And again, you flick him in the head and his eyes glow orange. He does have rotation at the shoulder, though the arms do bump into the wings, but you can just get them around that. The shoulders go out that far. The shoulder pads do move, and the shoulders are on ball joints. So he does have a little bit of a butterfly and like a shift up and down, which is nice. You do have a bicep rotation, 90-degree elbow bend, and the wrists, just like Sentinel's. Both this and the like voice box war crime piece can rotate on ball joints. Now, like I said, he does have a waist joint, but because of this little crotch flap here, the waist only rotates about that far either way. And then when you get the legs involved, just forget about the waist joint, honestly. He does have a ball joint here, so you can shift it side to side and you can crunch a little bit, plus these bits move out of the way. But if you're messing with this, it's on a peg and it doesn't do the locking in thing, so it will just come out, which is a tad bit unfortunate, but you move that up. The hips can go forward that far. The back skirt does move as well, so the hips can go back that far. You can get a full splits and a thigh swivel. It is a little bit more limited than Sentinel. It doesn't go any further forward and it only goes back about that much. He does have double jointed knees with the armor moving, which I think is very nice. These flaps can move. And then the ankles are just like Sentinel's, down, up, rotation, pivot. But the wings have ball joints in them too. They're just slapped on like focus, like that. So you get the wings on, you can have them go back that far, forward that far. They can rotate a little bit. They can shift up and down ever so slightly. I kind of wish they could move at this axis up and down a bit more, but this is still pretty fine. But yeah, they're quite well articulated for what they are. Like, they're more articulated than this guy, who only came out, what, a year or a year and a half before these two? So that's a pretty quick improvement to their articulation. And then when you get the accessories involved, they can look really, really cool. One of them's even peeking in right there. So I think these are great. I haven't messed with their Dark of the Moon Bumblebee or Megatron yet. I need to get my hands on those, but not having messed with those, these are probably my favorite Blokees has ever made so far. And they're cheap for what they are, which is nice. Again, the only real thing that bugs me are Sentinel's lack of double knees and his hip skirts, and then the waist thing on Blitzwing. But even still, like, Sentinel alone is great because there's no accurate Sentinel Prime toys. Well, there are a couple, but they're expensive. There's nothing in this price point that just nails it on the head like this kit does. And then Blitzwing's cool too. But that's been my look at Blokees Sentinel Prime and Blitzwing. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.